All right. Greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. You can hear my power is connected from the slight hum in the background. How y'all doing? So, yeah, we got some interesting stories today. I don't know if we're going to be able to get to them all, but we'll try to get to a few or whatever we can. Thanks for hanging out. We're live on YouTube, Rockfin, Callin. And we'll just jump into it. I'm trying to just get through some few interesting things. Oh, that's tomorrow. Okay, well, let's start with why heating prices might be going up in the U.S. We heard that heating prices are going up in Europe. But Kim Iverson is reporting that heating prices are going up, heating fuel prices, and subsequently your heating bill is going up because we are selling our supplies of gas to Europe because we cut them off from Russia and Europe is in short supply and they're feeling a crunch. So we decided to pass on that crunch to you, fellow American. You're welcome. But, I actually myself have not seen a huge jump in the gas prices, but I do use very little gas. I don't really superheat my house. If you're somebody who has the heat on all the time during the winter, and if you live in California, I don't know why you would, but let's say you have the heat on all the time because you have to have it a toasty 70 degrees or 75 degrees all the time, then I don't know, maybe wear a sweater. Maybe bring it down to 65 and wear a sweater. That's exactly what I do. Or try to get by without it at all. I mean, it's really, we haven't had an exceptionally cold winter yet. It's been rainy. It's been wet, but, probably low 40s is about as cold as it's gotten, which is not, some people might call that uncomfortably cold, but I don't know. You could probably even set your thermostat to 50. That would be, wouldn't be crazy. I don't know. But 65 is generally where they tell you to put your thermostat to save on some heating. And that's about comfortable, right? About 65, it might feel a little cool, but you could put on a sweater and you'll probably be just fine. Max Sarge, you're cold turkey. You don't use any heat? Yeah, a lot of people don't. Anyways, Kim Iverson, the gas heating prices in California have suddenly tripled over what they were when they suddenly doubled. Oh, over what was already suddenly doubled, meaning we are now paying 5 times higher gas rates. Is that right? Tripled over this doubled? Yeah, over the doubled. 5 times higher gas rates than what we paid in November. Why? Because the U.S. is selling gas to Europe because we forced them to cut off gas with Russia. She lives in California, so she would know. Elderly being forced to choose between heat and medicine is the new normal in the United States. So, a lot of people in here saying, yep, my gas bill has gone through the roof. DeFi guy says natural gas prices peaked in August 2022 around $10, and now they're only $3.78. So there's also the possibility of price gouging. There's also the possibility of some price gouging going on, which always happens too, right? With just regular old gasoline, right? They say like, oh, we have this crisis and we've got to raise the gas prices to meet demand. We're having some supply issues, or, the refineries are going offline because of winter storm, right? And they jack the prices up, but the prices, prices don't always follow what the market is charging. And you could say maybe that's to be expected, but it does raise an eyebrow, does it not? But another knock-on effect. Oh, that's weird. That's weird. I mean, there is a report from March 2022. The U.S. will ship more liquefied natural gas to Europe starting next winter. So, they were saying way back when that we would be doing this. Here's from August 2022. Energy traders are making a killing exporting U.S. natural gas to Europe as prices soar, with some single shipments bringing in $200 million. So energy traders are looking for the price pump. Poppy, you have a super efficient outdoor wood furnace that heats the house and water too. Cool. Gene says, yeah, the real reason is because they can get more profit by selling to the highest bidder. Well, I just, showed you an article that said pretty much that. Here's an interesting article. Egypt is cutting domestic power demand and selling more gas to Europe. Hey, we can get a lot of money if we ship this gas to Europe and we cut our domestic output. We leave our people wanting while we make the monies selling our gas to Europe, who are hungry to buy the gas with the monies. I don't know. Could be an interesting game going on here. Anyways. Well, she's saying her rate went from 65 to 104 to 344, nearly double, then more than triple. Someone else says California is on the wrong side of the Rocky Mountains. From where the gas is produced, it's cheaper and easier to send it to Europe. California used to produce its own energy until politicians decided that was bad. Seems about right. Bella Lagrisi says it costs an extra $20 to register a fuel-saving vehicle here in Virginia. Stupid. We should incentivize efficiency, not punish it. Well, absolutely. It doesn't make any sense, right? Aren't we supposed to be pushing the climate change narrative? Right? Are we always pushing the climate change? Aren't we, but charging more to register a efficiency vehicle or efficient vehicle doesn't sound like you're pushing anything, right? I remember when good old George W. Bush was president, and first of all, they took all the electric cars off the road. And then they incentivized people buying 4x4s, SUVs, Hummers. They incentivized people got rebates for buying gas-guzzling cars. Why? Because they could sell more gas. What a scam that was. And that wasn't that long ago. And now they're charging more money to register an electric vehicle. It sounds like, not that $20 would necessarily keep you from buying an electric vehicle, but they also got rid of, in California, they used to give you access to carpool lanes if you had an electric car or a hybrid, you got a little sticker that said you can go in all the carpool lanes. You get special privileges, which I think is fair, right? That would be an incentive. That would incentivize, pushing out the electric vehicles. And now you have to pay for those stickers. So that's not an incentive at all. So I question these statements about they're trying to push these things on you. Are they? Not really. But if you're wondering why your gas bill is going up, that could be why. Could be one reason, or several. There's a whole documentary about who killed the electric car. I'm sure many of you are aware of this documentary. You should watch it, though. If you haven't watched it, it's pretty interesting and also infuriating. So if you want to get good and mad, watch Who Killed the Electric Car. Not that I think that electric cars are going to save the planet. I do not, but I'm just saying. Had we switched over 30 years ago or 40 years ago, maybe we could have done a lot less damage. But, 20 or almost 30 years ago, when they were just rolling out electric cars, old George W. Bush won in a snafu hanging Chad election. Whoops. How did that happen? Got Al Gore to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. And killed all the electric cars, incentivized SUVs, sold oil and gas like there was no tomorrow, got us into a couple of gas-guzzling wars. Man, the oil industry loved that. I don't know. Gene, I saw that story, and I'm not really sure that that's actually happening or that is a real story or that I'm not sure about that story. Honestly, I don't know enough about it, but I have heard some people speak on it. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Unless you're, and from what I've heard, the people doing it doesn't, I could understand it if it was like a Earth First kind of group or a climate change kind of group, but what I've heard is that it's like right wingers attacking power stations. I kind of doesn't really. Yeah, well, the FBI says a lot of things, right, Regan? FBI says 2 men attacked Washington's electric grid in order to commit a robbery. I mean, maybe. I don't know. Again, if the FBI says anything, I would say, let's hold off on actually believing that story. I would take anything the FBI says with a huge, and Vice. I would take anything Vice said with a huge grain of salt. But maybe they did it. I don't know. Maybe it's a real story. I don't know. I don't know that much about it to really speak on it. But I wanted to talk about this. That's what I hear. There's also all the reports of food distribution plants going up in flames. There's reports of, dairy plants and, all kinds of things related to food also, magically or mysteriously going up in flames. I don't know. It seems like that is a thing that's happening. And maybe the whole electrical grid thing, it seems like maybe that's a thing that's happening. Is it I don't know. Is it really? I just in my mind the jury is out on that one. Like it could be a mix of many things, multiple things. Unless I see something really compelling about that, like it really is, one thing or the other, or one way or the other. I just leave. I'm kind of not really into talking about it because sometimes stories, look interesting for a while, and then maybe they're maybe they're not. Gene, yeah, they could be eco terrorists or warriors. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. I haven't seen anything one way or the other. Who was it that linked this video about Unsettled, the book? D-Truth, I think it was. I don't know. I'm not really going to play this video, but I'm going to talk about this video. And I will tell you right away my issues with this. I had issues with this immediately when Gene, just to answer your question, I haven't seen that happening lately. So it was a thing that was happening, and then all of a sudden it wasn't a thing. It's not a thing anymore. Is it still happening? I don't know. I haven't seen any stories of food distribution situations going up in flames or going down or going out in the last few months. So it seems like it has kind of gone away, but I'm not sure. I haven't seen anything. If you have something that you want to show me, or if I see anything different, I'll let you know. Anyways, I can tell you, okay, I've heard of Steve Koonin before. I believe that Allison Morrow interviewed Steve Koonin. For one thing, Steve Koonin is a nuclear physicist. He's not a climate scientist. And I've heard some of his talks before around why he doesn't believe climate change. And I found the interview he had with Allison Morrow I thought was interesting because he said, and I quote or paraphrase, everybody around me believed in climate change. And I just believe them because they were all smart people with degrees. Okay. All right. I guess that's one way to go. And he said, but then I started to question this. And he, in essence, he said, I found people who said negative things or things, anti-climate science or skeptical of climate science. And I just, really dived into what they were saying. But I was like, did you ever dive into what you said you just believe these people on climate change because they're smart people, but did you actually study the climate change science yourself? That's the thing is like, yeah, I might believe something because I trust somebody's authority, or I might believe something because it just rings true with me or something like that. Like that happens. I have confirmation bias. I'm a human being. We all have things that, kind of sound like they strike a chord with you and they're like, that sounds right. But just because something sounds right or somebody in authority told you it's true isn't a reason to believe it. So, if you really are a skeptic, wouldn't you actually go look at the climate science and go deep into the climate science, to really, I don't know. It just was his explanation for it was strange to me. I'm just giving you my take on this. And here's another thing. In the very beginning of this video, Mark Mills, who's the interviewer, says, this man worked for British Petroleum. It's like, okay. This man used to work for British Petroleum. And somehow he's deep, he's been a deep thinker on climate science for a long time, and he's come to the conclusion that it's unsettled. I mean, listen, I don't agree. I don't agree with calling climate science settled. I don't agree with just, you must believe what we're telling you. I don't believe with that I don't believe in those kind of things being said around any division of science, right? Like climate science to me is pretty, what was, the case is pretty much, made for climate science. However, if somebody brought me something compelling, super compelling, if I was like, whoa, I have not, seen this evidence before. I've not seen this data before. You have, completely, you swayed me. I would be open to seeing, different evidence around it. I just don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it. And the evidence, that tells us that it's climate change is pretty mountainous. There's a mountain of evidence. There's also no, really, it's not a lot of like super credentialed, big mucky mucks in the climate change society, climate change scientists, botanists, ecologists, people who study, weather and science and climate and all that stuff. There's not a lot of those people. There's not like all these doctors and scientists coming out saying like, we were wrong and they're faking the temperatures and they're faking the data and they're faking all this stuff. There's not a lot of those people that are credible to me. But what I want to say about this video, when the guy says, I used to work for British Petroleum, so you still have no interest, well, you don't work for him anymore. Therefore, you're just completely, making this case. Nobody paid you to make this case. You have no interest in making this case. There's no, I think that's a logical question. One might go, It's kind of like politicians who work for the banking industry and then get a job as a politician or in the government overseeing the banking industry, right? You got to go, really? Are you really like free from any encumbrances? Are you free from, So this guy used to work for British Petroleum and whoa, crazy. He wrote a book saying that the science is unsettled. Whoa, that is just totally a coincidence. It's a little bit laughable. And also, they're talking about his book and they're like, there are some really great charts and graphs in this book, but they never show any of the charts or the graphs. I found that to be like, really? You couldn't show it. We're just going to talk about it. And on top of that, this guy, Mark Mills, who's the interviewer, is a nuclear power supporter. So he's, so both these guys, probably have some serious ties to, nuclear. Also, Steve Koonin is a nuclear physicist, right? So both these guys most likely have ties to the nuclear power industry. Steve Koonin also has worked for British Petroleum. I don't know. I listened to, as much as I could of this interview. And I was like, there is nothing really compelling in here to me. I've talked about Steve Koonin before. Anyways. I just wanted to just briefly touch on this video and what my thoughts are. Heidi, how you doing? I'm going to take your call.
Hi. Am I coming through?
Oh, I can barely hear you, Heidi.
Can you hear me now?
No.
Is that any better?
I'm trying to make sure that this is not my fault, but I can kind of hear you a little bit.
Any better?
Hold on one second, Heidi. Okay, can you try again, Heidi? Heidi?
Sure. Any better?
No, I can't hear you. You are very, very...
I'll try calling in again.
Okay, thanks. All right, we'll try it again. How's it going, Heidi?
Hi, is that any better?
No, it's not better. I don't know what hold on. Keep going. Keep talking.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I can't hear you, Heidi. Tim is saying he can hear her okay. So maybe it's on my end. Hold on, Heidi. Hold on. Sorry. I don't know. Say something again. One more time, Heidi.
I totally understand technical difficulties.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know because everything is set how it usually is set.
sound
Yeah.
in a different rumor.
Well, Heidi, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Can you guys? Do you guys hear Heidi in the chats? Plug is in all the way. I mean, yeah. Hear me? My plug is in. Everything. Hold on, 1 second. Let me check something. All right. Last try, Heidi.
Sure. Can you hear me?
No.
Is that any better?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe my cord has given up the ghost. I apologize. But maybe somebody else can call in and test this line. Okay, Heidi, I have to let you go because I actually can't hear you at all, so I don't know what you're saying.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know. Yeah, it's extremely low in the chats. So something was weird there. I apologize, Heidi. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. Steve Coonan, not so much. Oh man, I've been meaning to cover this story, and I'm going to move on to some other. I'm going to move off of YouTube soon. Just letting you know, because I want to move into some other things. I want to talk about the bee thing, but the bee thing involves vaccines, so I want to go away from YouTube to talk about the bee thing, even though the bee thing is relevant to climate change too, right? But anyways, have you guys seen this story? Looks like we have another major coincidence. This is from Luke Radowski. So there was a lawyer, or was it a lawyer or a judge? Oh, attorney general in Virgin Islands brought a lawsuit against J.P. Morgan Chase, against saying that they were involved with, they aided Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking ring. Okay, and that's interesting, right? Did anybody watch the Bernie Madoff documentary on Netflix? I just watched it. It's pretty good. It's also infuriating because I didn't like the language they were using to describe. They were trying to make it seem like he was just the most evil ever. I mean, yes, it's bad. It's bad to run a Ponzi scheme and bilk people for all their money. Yes, it's bad, but they really played up the whole calling him a monster thing. It's like, fairly monstrous, but I just, when people use that kind of hyperbolic language, I'm like, it's not any different than other monsters of Wall Street, right? I guess that's my problem with it. They're trying to make him seem like the most evil. And he was the fall guy. And he had his money in what bank? JP Morgan Chase. And JP Morgan Chase got off scot-free, right? JP Morgan Chase got off scot-free. Somehow they escaped the clutches of the SEC during after the 2008 financial crash. Madoff took the fall. He had his money. He had billions of dollars in Chase Bank. And somehow that wasn't a red flag to anybody, that they probably knew what was going on with his Ponzi scheme, right? So he takes the fall, but a huge, major bank, maybe they go, that looks a little weird, but okay, just try better next time, right? They get the slap on the wrist. Madoff takes the fall. They get the slap on the wrist. Anyways, this is interesting because they are implicated by this Virgin Island lawsuit. Biden goes to the Virgin Islands a few days before this is reported. And son of a bitch, Virgin Islands Attorney General loses her job days after suing J.P. Morgan Chase in connection with the Jeffrey Epstein probe. Wow. Now, this is totally coincidence, right? These things are coincidentally linked. However, when you see these headlines together, you could kind of go, is there a connection there? Is there a connection there? Remember when Biden, bragged that he had a prosecutor in Ukraine fired who was looking into things he shouldn't be looking into? They were going to give him a bunch of money, and son of a bitch, they fired him the next day. Right? So Biden goes down to the U.S. Virgin Islands, and this is just all coincidental, right? I'm not saying anything is happening, but he goes down there, son of a bitch. Anyways, Timcast, Tim Pool did a really good thing on this, but I have been wanting to kind of cover this for days, and got buried in my files. But this is a weird story. It's a weird story, and so there are plenty of not so great, corrupt financial things, possibly tied to, not great. Yes, Bitcoin is up. Bella Lagrisi, it's up, and it's been up. Right. The major banks are involved in all kinds of not so nice things. So, and of course, yeah, crypto banks as well, right? If there's an opportunity to do something crazy with money, people are there to do it. But I just wanted to highlight that story. That looks a little strange, right? Dre Guy says Obama effectively put millions of families out of their homes, and he did. What did Madoff do? Steal rich people's money. Not everybody, not all of his clients were super rich, but they had, some amount of money. That's the other thing, I guess, was like, it's not nice to get, let's say you have a good pile of money and you want to invest it and get returns on it, that's what people do when they have money. They want to invest it and get returns on it. It's not nice to lie to people and steal their money. It's not nice to do that. However, a lot of these people invested their money with Madoff for years and got returns for years from this Ponzi scheme. So they made money. There were several people who actually were in with Madoff for so long that they made their money back, right? They made more than they invested. So, it was a nuanced situation. I'm not saying it's okay to run a Ponzi scheme. It's not okay. Or if you're going to invest in a Ponzi scheme, know that it's a Ponzi scheme. Understand the risk, right? Anyways, we're going to cover these other stories. Anyways, that's just an interesting story, man. That is interesting. We're going to cover these other stories on Rockfin. So, YouTubers, thank you for hanging out. We'll see you over on Rockfin. Before I leave, I'm going to check in on the coffees. buymeacoffee.com/BlackBearNews. This is a good way to support the channel. Maybe we'll throw up the banner. That's where it is. Rockfin is also a nice place to support the channel, and Patreon as well. You guys know the drill. You guys know the thing. All right, YouTubers, we'll see you tomorrow. Yes, Gene, people got really high returns from the Madoff scam, and they liked it. Right. It's like you were investing in something, and the returns look kind of crazy high. You're getting like 10% a month or 12% a month or whatever. And, You're going, well, this is unheard of, but I'm not going to ask any questions. Well, I don't know. All right. We'll see you over on Rockfin YouTubers.